us. It is our own Carol Robinson from AL.com. And this is Carol's debut here with me. But Carol's here today to talk about the shooting that happened on Friday at the Riverchase Galleria. Now, the Galleria is a large mall that is located in Hoover, Alabama, right outside of Birmingham. And there was a shooting there on Friday afternoon that left several people injured and an 8-year-old boy dead. So Carol's here today to talk about that, to give us a little bit of an update on what's happening with that case. There was a press conference yesterday and we learned a little bit more information and learned that one person had been charged in that shooting. So Carol's here to give us a little bit of an update on that. And if y'all have any questions that you would like for Carol to answer or anything about the case, please let me know in the comments. I'll be monitoring them and I'll ask Carol as we go. So first, Carol, thanks for taking some time to talk to us today. And first, tell us a little bit. Now, this shooting happened Friday at about 3:18 p.m. is what we have here. So tell us a little bit about what happened Friday and kind of the sequence of events.
Basically, from our understanding, is everything happened very quickly. It was right about 3:18 when Hoover police started receiving multiple phone calls about shots fired inside the mall. They responded very quickly from what we're told. And when they arrived on the scene, I think witnesses told them that there was a man running through the hotel parking deck with a gun. And that is when 22-year-old Montez Coleman was taken into custody. And as we learned yesterday, he's charged with capital murder in the death of Roy Tay and 3 counts of second-degree assault for the other 3 victims that were wounded.
So we know that the victim who has died was 8-year-old Roy Tay Giles, and he was 8. He was going into the 3rd grade. And what do you know about Roy Tay and what kind of a kid he was?
You know, everybody seemed to love him. As you can tell from the pictures, he was absolutely precious. I spoke with his mom just a couple hours after he died at outside Children's Hospital. I'm not sure if anybody saw the images, but, you know, as I reported earlier, his mother, his stepfather, and his 2 siblings were waiting to get into the children's place, which is on the 1st floor of the Galleria, to buy outfits for the 4th of July. And she told me that they heard the gunshots. She grabbed all of her kids. They dropped to the ground. And her words were, when we all got up, he was the only one he wanted to be a rapper. He had a very big personality from what we're told. The mother told me they had just moved to Vestavia, so I'm assuming he was going to be starting Vestavia schools in the fall. But the Bessemer City school officials, you know, praised him for his personality and his persuasion. Apparently, he would have made a great lawyer. They said he smiled all the time. He was very energetic and your typical 8-year-old boy.
I'm trying to get up a picture here of Roy Tay so y'all can see him. Like Carol said, he was actually he was shot in the head outside of the children's place where he was waiting to get in. Because of the coronavirus precautions that a lot of stores are taking, there's only a certain number of people allowed in each store. And that is why when people say, well, why was he outside? That's why he and his family were waiting outside so another person could leave the store so Roy Tay and his family could go in. Now, Roy Tay was not the intended target, we believe, of the shooting. He just happened to be in the crossfire. What about these other 3 victims that were injured, Carol? Do we know if they were intended or were they just crossfire?
No, according to police, they were all innocent victims, just bystanders caught in the crossfire of, according to them, Montez Coleman, and then the group of 5 that he had gotten into it with. Apparently, it was a pre-existing dispute. It's not a dispute that just happened inside the mall. I think there was a prior bad blood between them, and they happened to encounter each other inside the mall.
So I'm going to take that picture down for just a second. We'll put it back up, though, because I know everybody wants to see Roy Tay, who's precious. But Carol, there's talks. We'll get into these other suspects here or these other people police are looking for in just a second. But first, let's address something that a lot of people have asked about. A lot of people have been talking about since Friday. And there was a rumor that happened that said this fight erupted between somebody and a security guard or somebody because they were asked to put on a mask. What about that rumor? Is there any truth to that?
We specifically asked Hoover Police that yesterday during the press conference. Lieutenant Keith Sescliba said nothing in the investigation suggests this was over a mask, and his words were, "It is complete internet rumor."
So there's no truth to that. There is no confirmation or truth
not that police have found at this point, and they said there's really no indication that that was involved.
Now, let's talk about the other people police are looking for. We do know that 22-year-old Montez Coleman has been arrested. Like you said, he's been charged with capital murder along with other offenses. But there are some people police are still looking for.
Right. There were 5 young men together. They released photos of them coming down the escalator, and those are people that they obviously are interested in. Police believe at least 2 of them fired their weapons. They got great surveillance photos of them. I talked with Hoover Police this morning with Lieutenant Sescliba, and he said once they released those photos yesterday evening, there has been an overwhelming response from the public with tips and possible identities. He said it was amazing how many people have called in, but not amazing because when you have an innocent child killed, he said the community tends to react this way. And he is so appreciative. All of the detectives are so appreciative of everybody that has called in since these pictures were released. And they still need information. They, if anybody has it. So don't assume they know everything. Please continue to call in if you can identify these suspects.
And I put this picture up on the screen for our viewers to look at. There are 5 people in this image. Are police looking for information and identification for all of those people? It looks like they're all men at this point.
Yeah, obviously they were all together, they believe. And so they want to talk with everybody that was with them at that point.
So we have this photo that I'm showing y'all right now, along with a couple other surveillance photos that are in Carol's story. I've put it here in the comments. Y'all can look there, look at these photos. And if you have any information, you can call Hoover Police. And there is a way to remain anonymous as well, Carol, correct?
Absolutely. You can always call Crime Stoppers and qualify for a cash reward by calling 205-254-7777.
So again, that's all in Carol's story that we're going to put here for y'all to read and look at. And Hoover Police would be appreciative, like they said, of any information that you might have on these people. Now, let's talk about the 22-year-old Montez Coleman that has been arrested. He's been charged with capital murder. What other charges is he facing?
3 counts of second-degree assault. The district attorney's office set no bond on all 4 of the charges. And so he's charged as police. Excuse me.
So while this capital murder charge, there's a lot of people who are asking, well, who shot Royte? That is something that police do not know at the moment. They do not know which bullet from which gun killed Royte. But how many shooters do police believe were, or how many people do they believe were actually firing guns in the mall?
At least 3. At least 3. But they don't know. But under Alabama law, I've got something in my throat. Under Alabama law, if you start a crime that ends in death, you can be charged with capital murder.
And that's what the district attorney's office has gone for, it looks like, in this case.
Absolutely.
So Montez Coleman, 22 years old, he was in the mall when this happened. And do we know, rather, Carol, who was the instigator in this situation, or who fired the first shot?
They have not said that yet.
We do know that
Montez Coleman did, but we don't know that.
Montez was actually captured on property at the Galleria, correct?
Yes, at the hotel, the Hyatt.
How did that take place? Do you know anything about that arrest?
I just know that witnesses reported to police. I was out there that day, and I would not say it was as chaotic as it was 2 years ago when E.J. Bradford was shot. This was handled really quickly. But I think a lot of witnesses had fled the mall and saw him running with that automatic pistol he had.
So it's probably fair to say not only are there surveillance cameras there, but people were able to tell police that they saw the suspects running.
Absolutely.
And there was
and it was
actually
quick.
right. And I know that the shooting calls came in about 3:18. Do we know anything about response time from Hoover Police?
No, but I mean, I was there by, I would say 3:50, and they had already been transported, all but one.
All but one.
So
You say those other three people who were injured, not Roy Tay, who we know passed away from his
it was pretty
injuries,
quick.
but those other three people,
Ivana,
what
can
are
you
the
hear me? I don't
extent?
know.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? I think we've got a bit of a delay. Have you,
Internet
can you, Carol?
issues.
Yes, I know. Working from home, we all have these. But I was asking, we know that Roy Tay actually passed away from his injuries. What about those other three people? Do we know the extent of their injuries?
They were all treated and released that night.
So we don't know exactly how they were hit, but we do know that they were not in serious condition.
Correct. Absolutely.
Sandra, yes, we do have pictures of the other people police are looking for. I'm going to put it on the screen now for you so you can see that. Carol, can you tell some of our viewers who are maybe just tuning in, tell them about what police said about the response they've gotten since they've released these pictures of the suspects
Right.
they're looking for?
Since they released these pictures, they have received multiple tips. They still need more. They don't want anybody to assume anything. But as you know, as usual, when a child is tragically killed, the community steps up, and this is no different.
Can you tell us about what anybody, I'm going to leave this on the screen for a minute. Can you tell us, though, about other people who were at the mall who were not hurt or who were not involved, were just shopping and out there for the holiday weekend? A lot of people had Friday off. Right. Tell us what they experienced. I know somebody that you talked with was in Torrid and that's on the second floor of the mall, but still heard the shot. So what was the feeling like just from the bystanders?
You know, when I got there and everybody was being evacuated, they were sad. I mean, people were just hugging each other and crying. I think a good number of people had to pass by Roy Tay, you know, on their way out before, you know, he was transported very quickly, but the scene was evident. A lot of people were hugging, a lot of people were crying. There was not a panic or a chaos that I saw when E.J. Bradford was killed, because I think this scene was so quickly contained. A lot of people were standing outside because they had family or friends that were still stuck on the second level that couldn't get down. And so a lot of people, there was just a lot of unknowns about how, you know, people trying to tell each other how to get out of the mall and that type of thing.
Quickly answer some of your questions. Jason, this is not actually in Birmingham. This is in Hoover, Alabama, which is a little bit outside of Birmingham. Some other questions, Carol, maybe you can clear up. Are people talking in the comments about, was this intentional? And I'm assuming they're talking about the death of Roy Tay. Can you maybe describe a little bit for some of our viewers who joined late about what police think and how Roy Tay was not exactly the intended target of this shootout?
Right. What we know at this point is that apparently the suspect that's in custody, 22-year-old Montez Coleman, was in the mall. There was another group of 5 or so people that there had been some bad blood between, perhaps previously. They encountered each other in the mall, and the shooting started almost immediately. Police told me, or authorities told me, that literally the shots were fired. Everything was over under 10 seconds. It was very quick.
Wow, that is quick. And the horrific description you gave from the mother, from Roy Tay's mother, about how she had her children and pushed them to the ground, and Roy Tay was the one who did not get up. Do we know Roy Tay, where was he taken after he was shot, and how was that transport worked?
Well, there were 2 Hoover police officers, and then that were, I guess, first to Roy Tay, and they applied what aid they could. Paramedics got there. They loaded him and took him to Children's Hospital. So the shooting happened at 3:18. According to the coroner's office, he was pronounced dead at Children's at 5:30, 5:35. But then the police chief last night said, these officers will never forget this little boy that died in their arms. And so I think, that they knew pretty early on that he would not survive. But as they do with all victims, but especially children, they're gonna try until they can't try anymore.
Right. I'm going to, before we leave here, I'm going to get the picture back of Roy Tay on our screen. This was Roy Tay Giles. He was 8 years old, died on Friday after a shootout at the Riverchase Galleria. He was a rising third grader. And Carol, you said that he dreamed of being a rapper.
He did. He wanted to be a rapper, according to his mom. He had a big personality.
He looks like he could be a big personality. And tell us one more time too about what his teachers and what his principal said.
One of his principals just said that he had a great passion for persuasion and that they had actually been trying to convince him to become a lawyer because of, his ability, I guess, to connect with people and to persuade people.
Well, our hearts go out to the Giles family. And questions to Melissa. Yes, we do have pictures of 22-year-old Montez Coleman, who was charged with capital murder. That is all on our website on AL.com. It is available in Carol Robinson's story that's linked here, as well as those pictures of the people police are looking for. Carol, one more time, tell people if they have information who to call.
You can call Hoover Police. There are numbers for several different detectives in our story. And also, if you want to remain anonymous and be eligible for a cash reward, you can call Crime Stoppers at 205-254-7777.
Got it. Thank you so much, Carol. And we appreciate you and your work, and everybody else. Thank you so much. If you have questions for Carol, let us know here, and make sure to give those pictures a look and call police if you know anything. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you.